I feel extremely, extremely privileged right now because I get to talk to Congressman Waltz twice in 1 week. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, how we doing, Greg? This is a two for this week.
This
What's
is.
going on?
Do you do Fox twice a week? Do you do other stations twice a week? No, you doing mine twice a week, and
Just yours.
I feel very, very honored. Well, let's jump right into it. Let's jump into what we talked Monday before the rally down in Sanford, and I want to get your thoughts on what you saw, and we thought the president just hit it out of the park, and we even loved the governor going around high-fiving everybody. But what were your views on what took place down at the rally?
Well, those rallies are just incredible for their energy, for their enthusiasm. Look, of course, the president came out and said, "I feel great. I feel so great. I want to run out there and kiss everyone." Of course, that became mainstream media.
Right.
President threatens, President threatens to kiss everyone in the crowd. It's like, come on, guys. He was clearly joking. But one of the things that I find fascinating is the data that comes from these rallies. And from this one in Sanford, there were nearly 15% of the attendants had not voted before.
Wow.
Hadn't voted in the last four elections. There were nearly 25% were Democrats. So if you start breaking it down of who's coming to this, these aren't like the mainstream media likes to portray, just Trump's hardcore base.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty diverse group, and it's those ones that have never voted before and only come out to vote for him that the pollsters always miss, because they always want to talk people that they know are going to vote. Well, how do they know that? They know you voted the last several elections. That's the hidden Trump voter out there, and 15% is a pretty sizable number. The other thing was, it's the I-4 corridor. As the I-4 corridor goes, Florida goes, the country goes. And, it was phenomenal to have some of our Latinos for Trump, some of our Hispanics for Trump out there, our candidates and others, really talking to that Hispanic voter that is breaking heavily for the president right now.
We had talked about that earlier on the show, that how Biden was down having the very small rally that he had at the senior center, and that Biden seems to be focusing a lot on the seniors and not really focusing on the Hispanic vote, on the Latino vote, and that Trump, that the message is really getting out to those voters, and that is that going to be the sway for Florida this year? And then we're looking at the polls in Florida; it's getting closer and closer. But as you just brought up a great point with the 15% that have never voted before, that's something, I think we learned in 2016 that the polls are not as accurate as we want them out there. Is this going to be where Florida just comes up and says, all these new voters come up and say, surprise, and the state goes to the president again?
Well, you have that piece, but you also have the Republican Party has done a great job in registering new voters. Right? We have 1,000. We've talked about this before. 1,000 people a day moving to Florida. Well, we want them registered and changing their registration to vote here, not absentee back to the old states that they came from. And we've had a great ground game out there registering those voters. And the other variable, I'm a big believer, it really worked in my campaign, is getting out and canvassing and door knocking. Obviously, you can do that safely, but the Democrats have completely shut their ground game down, completely shut that down, which has also affected their new registration. They've just taken the lockdown mentality like they do to so many other things. We obviously believe you can walk and chew gum and do so safely. So there's a number of variables that's going to be very interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, and I don't think that those aren't going to be reported on. Those are going to be where it's just kind of just swept to the side, that they'll bring up, that the mainstream media will bring up about the jokes that the president said, that they'll bring up, just try to just look over here. Don't look at what's going on. Look over here. Look what we're saying. This is what the polls are saying. You shouldn't even get out there and vote. But voting, whether you're doing it early, absentee, or in person, especially in our state, is so important. Because as you just said, is I-4 goes and Florida goes, and if the way Florida goes, the nation goes. that we have the chance to get the president reelected here. And it's our state that may once again be who determines who is in the White House.
Direction of the country, yeah. And what I love about the rallies, I was able to do the warm up with the governor and Congressman Gates, and just getting out there and talking directly to people, not going, not hoping the media actually covers what you say, and just talking about the tangible, real results, which is what I loved about the RNC convention. You heard from real people about how their lives have been positively affected, whether it's justice reform, veterans, accountability, veterans' choice, the right to try legislation, supporting our ally in Israel, promises made, promises kept there, and the new Space Force, the new NAFTA deal. I mean, and just the list is so extensive. It really, my favorite line again is he's done more in 47 months than
47 years.
Biden's done in 47 years. I love it.
Yeah, that was the line of the campaign so far. So how's everything going with the Supreme Court confirmation hearing? Yesterday, what I was seeing in the media was that Judge Barrett was just trying to dodge every question that was thrown at her, but the questions were ludicrous. They were ridiculous, and it's just like they're going after something that's not there once again, and this is the people on the committee going after something that's not there, trying to get her into a corner. But this is a very, very, very smart woman, and I thought she again knocked it out of the park with how everything went.
I got to tell you, for all of us professionals, I'm a single dad with a 16-year-old daughter, and I feel like I'm juggling. I swear, for all the parents out there, I think she's making us all look bad. I don't know how she is doing it with all of those kids, with both of them having very successful careers. I mean, it just making me feel like a slacker. But overall, look, she's doing fantastic, and she's doing it with grace. She's doing it with aplomb. And the Democrats' questions really underscores just how they view justices and how we do. They are determined to get her personal views, whether it's on gun control, abortion, health care, you name it, because in their mind, I mean, that's just obvious, because your personal views are what their judges impose their personal policy positions on their ruling. She's not going to give those, because those in a originalist constitutional approach should be irrelevant. It's applying the law. And it's applying the law as written and determining its constitutionality, regardless of how you feel about it. And if you want different policy positions, it's the elected legislature that then should write better or different laws. And that fundamental difference and disconnect, it really lies at the heart of all of this in terms of how we approach our judiciary.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I mean, when Kennedy was trying to back her into a corner to get her to say that she would be a quote-unquote activist, and then she just came out and said, I'm not going to be an activist when I'm up here, and just kept stating, again and again, that I will follow the law. I will, without any bias, that she will do the most outstanding job that she can do. But it's just like, it just seems to just fall on deaf ears. That they just want
it completely does. They just can't get it. But it gets to the bottom of, Greg, people ask me all the time, how come Republican appointed justices seem to be so unpredictable, right? I mean, we can go through history, ones that were appointed by Bush or by Nixon that ended up, being viewed as more centrist or liberal, versus the, Democratic appointed judges are just solid down the line. I said, well, that's because they're very clear, the Democratic appointed judges, on their personal views and how they're going to apply them. The Republican appointed judges are not. They refuse to answer on their personal views and just how they'll apply the law. And I mean, I get asked that all the time, and I think that it's playing out right now.
Yeah, they were really trying to get her to jump on, with some of the questioning, jump on her personal views, and I have to applaud her, because she would not go down that route. It didn't matter how much pressure, how many times she got asked almost like the same question from different angles. she would not go down that route. But yet on Twitter, she was criticized for that.
Yeah, right. As dodging, well, or even being asked to recuse herself from basically from her job.
Right.
It's really it's so far so good. I mean, if that's all they have, then I think she's in great shape so far to be confirmed. And 3 Supreme Court justices in one term is really just incredible, and they have been absolutely top-notch nominees. And as you know, there is an entire process behind who the president eventually decides on, because it's of such consequence for generations. So so far so good. Let's see how today goes.
Yep, we got starts today at 9 o'clock, and each senator will be given 20 minutes to question her. And I can tell you how it's going to go. That with the Democratic senators, when they get up, that they will try to corner her and do it basically a replay of what they did yesterday.
Yeah, and by the way, very quickly, when we approach these hearings, I mean, I'm on Armed Services, on the Space Committee. We have whole binders that our staff prepare with questions, with background material, context, histories leading up to the issues. And the fact that she has none of that, when Senator Cornyn asked, where's your briefing books? And she held up a blank pad.
What does it say on there? It says,
it said United States Senate.
Yeah.
That's it. She makes me feel like a slacker. Like go back to school.
Yeah,
so,
me too, and I don't have any kids, and I'm single.
Yeah, just wait till you're juggling those two. So, just really an impressive family, and gives you real, kind of hope and optimism that we truly have the best of the best leading this country, and in such a consequential position.
I completely agree with you. Well, Congressman, thank you again for joining me. Feel free to call in tomorrow. We'll make it a threefer.
We'll do real quick, Greg. I've
Yeah.
started a campaign supporting our Florida Warriors, our GOP candidates. It's called flwarriors.com. We've got some great candidates out there, a lot of them veterans. We got to take back the House, brother. We've got to send Pelosi back to California. And I don't know if you saw her meltdown with Wolf Blitzer yesterday when pressed on the Affordable Care Act. Calling CNN apologists for the Republican Party is just laughable. I mean,
I saw that.
But she never gets those kind of questions, so it doesn't surprise me she had a little mini meltdown. But flwarriors.com to send Pelosi back home.
All right, I've written it down, and when we get off the air, I will share that link with everybody out there. Well, Congressman, thank you, brother, for joining me again.
Okay, will do. Anytime.
All right. Congressman Michael Waltz. We'll be right back.